Alrighty, thank you everybody for coming back in. I understand now with pizza involved, it gets a little bit harder to bring people back in here, but thank you for Ramesh for giving me the opportunity to come here and talk about my company, CloudBox. It's been an incredible journey for us. We started the company, well, going out of order. Here, I'll just go ahead and click through it manually. Started the company back in April of 2023, and what we did is we created the world's first smart container. And the way that the smart container works is that it tracks inventory in real time for businesses who don't want to spend their entire time counting inventory manually, who has theft and shrinkage problems, and then has big delays in their supply chain. We just went to market in March. We have about 350 of our first units that are currently on their way. We've sold about 70 of those 350. Those are anticipated to get here in about August. But as kind of mentioning, the biggest problems really come with having to pay, or the high amount of time that comes with counting, inventory, whether it's hardware, whether it's pharmaceuticals, whether it's, in the cannabis industry, that's one of our biggest demand right now. Is when we went to market, we found out that in the cannabis industry, it's so regulated, they have people whose full-time jobs are to go there and count inventory all day. And it costs about, the average dispensary, about $80,000 a year just to have people to go and count inventory manually. So what we did is we took basically a smart scale concept. And whenever you're ready to do your inventory, all you have to do is take the container that's housing your inventory, plop it down onto the scale, and within about 5 seconds, it's going to read what the container is with the RFID chip inside, and we'll upload to our mobile app, hey, this is how much inventory you have. When I take stuff out, you won't be able to see it obviously from here, but I would ask that you guys come check it out afterwards. It'll tell you, okay, this is how many you removed, and that way in real time, you always know how much inventory you have. Sorry, this little clicker thing just skips things. Let me go do this way. There you go. Kind of going through here. So the global market opportunities, we're chasing a $8.78 trillion industrial distribution total addressable market. Like I said, we just launched, and our biggest customers are the cannabis industry right now, jewelry stores. We'd like to get into medical hardware, such as orthopedic screws. We're talking to the CEO over at Chris's Health. He was mentioning that one of their hospitals has about $1 million a month in shrinkage on just orthopedic hardware alone. They get a new shipment in, they don't realize how much inventory they have, they're preparing for a case next week, and they're scrambling around last second to order more. So with us, we just integrate into their current system to go ahead and order that for them automatically as their inventory gets low. So with the intellectual property, we filed the patent for this about 2 years ago. We got office action back from the US, we cleared it. We went the international route, so still waiting to hear back. We're about ready to release our newest model in about 60 days that is actually no longer creating containers or scales. So what we did is we took our proprietary technology that's in this scale and turned it into a quote-unquote glorified USB stick that can be plugged into scales in existing businesses. So if I'm in the food industry, I have scales in there. If I'm in pharmaceuticals, cannabis, pallet scales, it doesn't really matter. When they have a safer trade certification, they all have a port on the side of it that we just integrate our technology into. And so this way, we don't have the hardware barrier to entry anymore. We basically are going to run a complete SaaS model and do it by the amount of SKUs. So this is our go-to-market pricing. We've had a lot of people tell us that our pricing is a little low, and that's fine. Right now, we're trying to make a name for ourselves, build a relation with customers, establish our company's identity. But as we grow, then that's when we can really start to increase kind of our pricing. And this is for this model. The next model, because you're dealing with so many SKUs, will be based kind of on a SKU basis. So the really cool thing about us is I started the company at the University of Oklahoma, my junior year of college. And kind of when I was talking earlier is I'm not a technical founder. I had a cool idea for something that's now completely unrelated to what we're doing. And I posted on my university's social media account like, hey, does anybody here know anything about product design? It would be nice to talk to someone. I have a cool idea about something. And so then it took one conversation with Ethan Connolly, our CTO, and he's done all of our prototyping. He's done the next model, he's done the CAD, he's done the injection molding, all that stuff. Chris, Ethan, and myself, we all went to school together, elementary school. Chris had a keyboard company at the time where he was It's actually a very successful company. I think it was doing about $1 million in revenue. And so he already had the supply chains in and out of China. We got to utilize the international supply chains, made the entire process for somebody like me who didn't have the experience to get my foot in the door and really learn international supply chain without studying it in school. I would like to say, we are a very young team. We have about 13 of us now. And a lot of times people say that they look at experience when evaluating a founder or a team of founders. But I really think there's a lot of, there's a lot of beauty in not knowing it all, because you sometimes don't know how difficult that road is. So you just kind of jump in there without knowing, and you grow and you learn as the company's growing. And that's kind of how we really ended up here now about 2.5 years into kind of the start of the company. Our current round, so we did our first round, we raised about $350,000. $250,000 came from our pre-seed, I guess, founders round. And then we did a bridge round after that. But we're currently raising about $1 million right now. And most of that's going to inventory, because with this specific model and our next model, like I said, I want to create a really SaaS proposition without any hardware costs associated to it. So really giving away the hardware for free and letting that subscription cost or revenue take that cost with the inventory. So yeah, we're CloudBox, and just some of my our socials up there. Want to kind of leave some time for any questions or anything like that. If anybody had anything they wanted to ask or throw my way.
So is that the only size it comes in, or do you have bigger sizes?
So that was the biggest question that we've gotten, is sizing. And so we had a client in Oklahoma who wanted us to design a pallet scale for them. They were doing military manufacturing at the time. They had huge shrinkage on their projects. And for us as an R&D team with limited capital, we were like, well, to go through what we just did for this, let's not do that for the pallet scale. So what we did is we just took the technology that's inside of this, like I said, that can now be plugged into pallet scales or plugged into other kinds of scales. And that way businesses that already have containers they like to use, whether it's a tote, whether it's a smaller U-line container, it doesn't really matter. They can use the containers they already have. So it's really utilizing their flow and finding a way to fit into it.
So basically, if I get what you're saying, the brains is the RFID chip and then the cloud.
It's really the RFID chip in the cloud. We do barcode as well, so either or. But yeah.
And this can track only one item in the box?
So, of course, when with the next model, you can think of this as like a U-line container as any like hardware with screws, nuts, bolts. We're in the cannabis industry, pharmaceuticals doesn't really matter. And so when it takes about 2 hours for these businesses to do their inventory audits, they have to go through and count everything manually. So this way, all you would have to do, like I was saying, was just kind of drop it down. It reads what's in it. I can take stuff out if I wanted to, and that way it just does it for you instantly.
So they can buy multiple boxes and put different.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a very seamless setup through our mobile app. You just kind of scan the container, you name it what you want, you put a unit in there, boom, you're done. So hopefully that helped answer that.
Yeah, quick question about some of the stuff you're mentioning with sourcing from China and internationally. Has the tariff stuff kind of affected you guys with building your products as well as your customers from receiving them on time?
Yes, of course, we manufacture in Shanghai, so as of about a month and a half ago, it was about 150% on tariffs. Especially, that was our first big batch of inventory that we ordered, and we were about ready to spend like 150% on those tariffs. So the reason why we're also pivoting to this next solution is because we built it in-house. It's very quick. We just took our proprietary PCB that's currently in this and put it in a smaller unit. That way it can just be more nimble and more quick.
Well, I guess this question doesn't really matter given how you're pivoting, but I was just wondering what the cost of each scale is.
So it's about $70 to $80 per unit at the current MOQ, but we can get it down to a lot lower.
Thank you.
So what is the input to the scale based on the product that you are counting?
Where's the input?
Yeah, so I'm not where, but what and how is input, right? For example, you have a cell phone over there and then these are chips.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it recognize that I'm counting cell phones versus chips?
So we have an RFID chip in this container that is linked to whatever you're storing within it. And if you just want to edit the container without being there, you just go on our mobile app and you can just quickly change it real quick.
And it has a unit weight?
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
What's the accuracy of your?
We advertise it as 0.5, but it's really like 0.15, just so we don't, it's always better to overpromise or underpromise, overdeliver. I almost said overpromise, underdeliver. Yeesh.
Have you looked into additional sort of opportunities, outside of things that you can't weigh, or maybe, I don't know, maybe some sort of like OCR type scanner, right? Like an AI-driven camera that can take a look at inventory you couldn't put in a box? Have that, either handheld devices, drones, something like that could also work with your software?
Absolutely. We do integrate with, or we're currently building, excuse me, I don't want to say currently, but we are building an integration for cameras to do facial recognition technology. But kind of to your point with camera vision, if you look at Amazon's warehouses, right, they have robots that go around and do all this stuff. But 99% of other warehouses around the world can't afford $10 to $20, $50 million to outfit their warehouse with robots that go around doing it. So if you just took the skills they already had, that they're already using, and just found a way to implement inventory tracking throughout their flow, then it becomes a lot cheaper of a solution than either camera vision or robots.
What are the 3 problems that you need help with? One is fundraise. What are the other 2?
You brought up international. We started working with companies in Germany and Lithuania. We do find that, yes, every country has its own regulation and laws you have to follow. I would say, really just the capital, but 2, I do have a great advisory board, but every time I don't know something, I bring on someone who knows more than I do in that particular domain. And so just really, honestly, a lot of guidance and helping us find other markets where this could be really applicable. Because the idea was we wanted to create something that was plug and play and then let that market dictate the solution. So we give them to them first, hey, what are your needs? Build the software out that way. That way we didn't quite pigeonhole ourselves to one initial market. Because like I said, our biggest demand right now is in cannabis, but this really has applications for other markets, especially very highly valuable chips or semiconductors and things like that. So hopefully that helped answer.
Who are your customer base right now? What kind of customers do you have, and what's sales looking like?
The 2 customers we have are jewelry stores and cannabis businesses. Like I said, cannabis is just really, really easy for us. It's not necessarily the end goal for where we want to be, because the industrial distribution space is a lot bigger. It's our biggest ambition. But just with proving early traction in what we're doing, it made a lot of sense to go there first.
We'll give the questions after the event. We have 30 minutes of networking. After that, we have a couple more slots to go. Well, thank you, Quentin. Appreciate it. Reach out to him.